It's Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. Thanks for joining me today. If you would, please make sure to like this video, share this video. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell notification so that you are alerted when newest videos drop. We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the CPI, talk a little bit about the economy. I want to start with this first article. I was reading this earlier today coming from the economiccollapse.com. 12 facts about the industrialization of America that will blow your mind. And I want to say this, this whole thing going on with Doge, I think it's admirable what they're doing, what they're trying to do, but the damage is so severe. The debt and the corruption is so extreme that this cannot be repaired. And this is why I do believe that we're going to be in a very, very ominous collapse, financial collapse in America. We are going to go into, I think, a depression worse than the one we had back in the 30s. I don't think there's any way out of this. Again, I think what Doge is doing is great, and I think it's something that should be enacted, that there's accountability from here on out, but this is not going to stop the bleeding. The damage is so severe. But I want to go through this list of 12. And it is really mind-blowing. And then we'll talk a little bit about the inflation numbers today and the economy. Since 2000, the U.S. has lost nearly 70,000 factories since the year 2000. How in the world do we remain a superpower? How do we even call ourselves a superpower when we've lost this amount of factories? In July of 1979, 19.5 million Americans had manufacturing jobs. Today, only 12.8 million Americans have manufacturing jobs, even though the population is much bigger. 59% of Americans surveyed believe that the U.S. has lost more than it has gained from free trade. Absolutely. In 1959, manufacturing represented 28% of all U.S. economic output. Today, it's 10.3% of all U.S. economic output. We have an economy of consumption. 70% of our GDP is Americans consuming with money they don't have. 5, more than 1 billion cell phones are sold worldwide each year. Only a few thousand of these cell phones is manufactured in the United States. 6, China trade deficit in 2024, $295 billion. 7, China produces 4 times as many vehicles each year than the United States. It's a big problem. You know, we love to say that we're the wealthiest nation, that we make all these cars, we're so advanced. We are getting our clocks cleaned out here, ladies and gentlemen, especially by China. 8, in the early days of the industry, 100% of all semiconductors were manufactured right here in the United States of America. Today, that number is 8%. We have been sold out. We sent our technology, we sent our jobs, our manufacturing. We are in so much trouble, and people just don't realize it. We're in big trouble. 9, Russia is producing 3 times as many artillery shells as the U.S. and Europe combined. We are not prepared for World War. We have depleted our strategic petroleum reserves, our drones, our munitions, our soldiers. Luckily, that's rebuilding a little bit, but we are so far behind. We are so unprepared for an emergency in this country, ladies and gentlemen. 10, the U.S. spends approximately $3 on Chinese goods for every $1 that the Chinese spend on U.S. goods. Is this fair? Does this make sense to anybody? 11, our stores are overflowing with products that are made in China. Meanwhile, soybeans are the #1 export from the U.S. to China. 12, more than 36 million Americans are now living in poverty and homelessness in the U.S. Poverty and homelessness in the United States of America is right now at an all-time high. Food banks. The demand of food banks is at a record level. None of this can be denied. These are all facts, ladies and gentlemen. Is this the country you grew up in? Is this the country you think is going to remain a world superpower? Are we even really a first world nation right now? That's a question I have to ask all of you. Are we more of a second world, or are we third world right now? We're going on $37 trillion of debt. and we don't manufacture things here. We don't make things here. The hedge today, U.S. budget deficit hits a record $840 billion in the first 4 months of 2025. Interest on the debt hits record $1.2 trillion. Here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. We are spending so much money. So we can take Doge, they can go after all this reckless spending, the corruption, and I think that's wonderful, but it is still continuing right now. Again, the good news is that, Doge is slashing $1 million here, $1 billion there, and that's wonderful. But the bad news is at the rate that it's going, Doge will need a few hundred years to make a tangible impact on what's going on. Thoughts? Comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. I love this country. It's almost enough to really make you cry, the abuse that has taken place. And your kids and your grandkids are going to suffer dearly for this if a miracle does not take place. I think one thing we need to do, the spending immediately has to stop. We have got to get factories and manufacturing back to America literally today. And look, as bad as it is, as bad as people don't want to admit it, you need tariffs. We need to be in multiple trade wars because we are getting our clocks cleaned by numerous countries. It is unfair. We're getting beaten. And as I've said for years, there is pain coming to America. There's no way out of this disaster, this mess, without pain. And it's going to be financial pain. Because as the Treasury reported today, it says, in January, the U.S. government spent a near record $642 billion, a 29% increase from the $500 billion in January 2024. Budget deficit for January. The budget deficit for January 2025, $129 billion, and $840 billion so far for the fiscal 2025. The dollar is toast, ladies and gentlemen. The dollar is toast. This cannot be fixed. And this is what really concerns me. I think we are going to see an economic reckoning, a depression, a collapse, call it whatever you want. These numbers are so severe. There's no way out of this except a crash, massive crash. And I know that scares a lot of people, and people will deny that and think that this is completely avoidable. You cannot avoid this. The damage is so severe. And, I think this is why we may be seeing such a massive inflow of gold coming into this country right now. Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that they're going to have to save the dollar. And the only way humanly possible to save the dollar is not going to be cryptos. It is going to be gold. It is going to be real money. It is going to be something recognized throughout the world as real money. That's my opinion. Let me know. Can the dollar be saved? What will they use to save it? Maybe you say it's cryptos. I'm going to say it's gold if it happens. But I think that there's other countries like the BRICS nations thinking the same thing. And whoever gets there first, whoever can back a currency with gold is going to win this war. Because I think that's where the world's going to go. They want to get rid of this monopoly money. All these countries are printing money. There's inflation everywhere. The only thing that can defeat inflation is getting back to a gold standard and having economic responsibility, accountability. And so we're going to see how it all plays out. But let's talk about the numbers today. Consumer prices rise 0.5%. in January, higher than expected as annual rate rises to 3%. So we had a half-point increase in January. The CPI accelerated again to a seasonally adjusted half-point for the month, putting the annual inflation rate at 3%, both higher than expected. Core CPI ran at 4% and 3.3%. Also above the forecast. A lot of this is being blamed on shelter, food, and energy, all of it rising. I'm going to go to the store tonight. I got to go to Costco. I'll see if there's any eggs there. But egg prices through the roof. And as you know, you need eggs literally to make almost anything. Bakery goods, breads, all of that stuff. So you need eggs. So the cost of going out to eat, the cost of buying a cookie, cake, pancakes, waffles, whatever, everything consists of eggs pretty much. So prices continue to go up on literally everything, services going up, and I just don't see where the solution is going to be anytime soon. And this isn't to blame this administration, because this administration I see already is taking the blame for egg prices and inflation and all this and that. But let's remember, this administration has been in office for like around 3 weeks. So the people who want to blame this administration for what just transpired for the last 4 years, a gentleman who I guess was the president, who literally was a dementia patient that didn't know how to get off a stage, didn't know where he was, didn't know the names of people working for him. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. This guy could not get a job at Walmart as a Walmart greeter. You know it, and I know it. And if you own a business and you look at Joe Biden, there's no way you could hire Joe Biden wherever you work. This guy could not do anything. You know it. You would never hire a human being like this because he was incompetent. He literally has dementia. He doesn't even know where he's at. So this guy, again, could not work at Walmart. This guy couldn't work at McDonald's. This guy couldn't do anything. And yet he ran this country, unfortunately, into the ground for 4 years and has caused a lot of damage. And now I guess we're going to blame this administration for the damage that we took on for the last 4 years. What I will say this new administration, it's nice to see a president on television every day being transparent, explaining what's going on, what they're doing. With Joe, unfortunately, there was months where we didn't even see this guy. And when we did, he couldn't put 2 sentences together. You know it and I do. Let's all be real, okay? I mean, people are going to go, oh, you're being so political. I'm being real. These are facts. I'm a factual person. Left, right, in the middle. I call it the way I see it. This guy, and you know it, this guy could not put 2 sentences together. This guy, we didn't know where he was half the time. And we still, to this day, don't really know who exactly was running the country. We do know now. Next article, Chevron will slash up to 20% of its workforce as part of cost-cutting plan. That's around 9,000 people. They posted a fourth quarter loss. They plan to slash $2 and $3 billion by the end of 2026. And this means that more, good paying jobs are gone. And these are people that own homes. And you're going to see more people forced into selling their homes. Oh, people don't want to move because they got a 3% mortgage rate. When you don't have a job, you don't have a choice. You're selling your home. When the economy slows down to this degree, you're going to see more people forced to sell their homes. When those Airbnbs, those short-term rentals aren't renting, guess what? People are selling those homes. Nikola reportedly considers bankruptcy amid financial struggles. I would bet probably 99% they're going to go bankrupt. More job losses. Here's another one today, CNBC. 1 in 3 Americans have layoff anxiety. Here's how to combat it. Check out the article. I think one of the best things you can do, this is just my advice, make sure you have a side hustle, make sure you're adding skills, and make sure you have a cash reserve and you're paying down your debts to 0 or something very, very manageable. I've had numerous people on my show that have said, have 6 months, 12 months. Enrique would come on and say have 18 months of cash reserves. Because if you lose a job, a spouse loses a job, if you have, let's just say 12 months of cash reserves and your debts are pretty minimum, you're going to, you have time to find and replace that job. The people that don't have any money put away and are running up all this debt with cars, credit cards, and $3,000-$4,000 mortgages, these people go into panic mode. Their life has just been turned upside down. They cannot afford to not work and lose 1 day of pay. So they lose a job. They're in panic mode. You do not want to put yourself in this position. I've been talking about this for over a year because we all knew this day was going to come where we were going to start seeing more and more layoffs. In 2024, we saw a lot of layoffs. We're going to see more in 2025 because these companies are going in survival mode. They're cutting the fat. They're cutting these jobs. They're going to use AI and technology. They're downsizing. They're going to run lean and mean. And a lot of people are going to be losing their jobs this year. So If you don't have cash put aside, if you don't have your debts paid down, if you're living over your head, you are going to be a victim of this these job losses. This massive wave of layoffs that we're going to see continue through 2025. So don't put yourself in that position. Be prepared. Be prepared that you could lose your job tomorrow. And if you do, you have some breathing room. You have some time. 10-year Treasury yield shoots above 4.6% after hot CPI report. Here we go again. 4.627. You're right at about 7% for a 30-year fixed mortgage right now. This is not going to be good if you're financing debt, you're borrowing money, you need a mortgage, you're going to buy a car. Rates are going to stay elevated through 2025, and I don't see much hope for rate cuts this year, 2025. Here's one from CNBC. Hopes for more Fed rate cuts dim as Powell notes hot CPI means we're not quite there yet. No, and we're not even close to being there. And we all know that the real inflation number is not 3%, as we're being told today. It's 3% with that, that half point bump. But many of you would say at least double digits. I have people writing me saying it's 20+%. Whatever it is, it ain't 3%. We know that. A rate cut won't be coming until at least September, if at all, this year, following the troubling inflation report today, according to CNBC. We're not getting closer to the Fed's 2% target. We're getting further away from it, ladies and gentlemen. And again, it's not 3%. You put it whatever number you want on it. But, what are eggs up this year? 36%. I think over the past 4 years, they're up like 267%. I saw some crazy number. It's just everything is just soaring out of control. And the scary thing is, the US dollar is getting weaker and weaker, is buying less and less. And that's why you're going to see gold break $3,000 very, very soon. Bloomberg, eggs soar 15% in a month with US grocery shelves empty. Again, people think that this is Trump's fault, but again, he's only been in office for 3 weeks. So much damage has been done. But if you think this is this administration's fault, please wake up and smell the coffee. Where have you been? Have you watched what just took place for the last 4 years? Did you see what happened to egg prices the last 4 years, not the last 8 weeks? I mean, come on. I mean, a lot of people got to start using common sense. Just please use common sense. Let's just get rid of the politics and let's just focus on the numbers, some of the data. A lot of the data is very, very corrupted, but you can go to the grocery store. You've been going to the grocery store. You look at car prices, you look at home prices, you look at rent. When did your health insurance and your auto insurance start going up? When did food prices start going up? Do you connect the dots? You don't need to even read the data. You're writing these bills out, these checks out to pay these bills, every day of your life. You got credit card rates at, 25%. I mean, connect the dots. This didn't just happen in the last 3 weeks. Age of transparency. We need mass surveillance of governments instead of citizens. Isn't that the truth? What do you all think about that? Should we have more surveillance on the government or more on you? I think I'd rather have more of the government knowing where my tax dollars are going versus the government following me to a school board meeting or to a Catholic church sermon. I mean, what is going on here? I mean, do people really think that this is okay? Why is the government going to school board meetings? Why are they, checking on Catholics and spying on Catholics when we have all this waste, all this corruption, this recklessness of spending, giving this money to other countries, when we still got people living in tents in North Carolina? There ain't one house been cleared out in Malibu, Pacific Palisades, or Altadena. I just saw a video last night on Maui, and that's been cleared out, but that's going on what? I don't know, 2 years? And I still haven't seen one house built in Maui. So yet we're giving billions, for people to stay at 4-star hotels. We're giving billions to finance wars. It's unbelievable. I will finish with this last one today from The Hedge. It's titled, Putin Invites Trump to Visit Moscow in Highly Productive Call, Ready for Peace. Trump said a meeting with Vance, Rubio, and Zelensky being set up on Friday. It's time to stop the war, he said. Trump and Putin spoke nearly an hour and a half today. He spoke to Zelensky and talked to him about the phone call. No matter what you want to think, this is how things get resolved. Do you think really we're going to stop wars, stop all this death and mutilation by not talking, by not putting people together and just sitting down and talking? Why would you not want to talk to Russia? They are they have more nuclear warheads than we do, and so we want to just remain enemies, never talk to them, have no diplomacy, not work these disagreements out. This could have all been prevented from the start. Hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives over in Eastern Europe. And finally, somebody is going to sit these two down and try to come to some agreement so that the death ends. You know, to ignore Russia, to me, is a really, really bad strategy. And it was, obviously, because a lot of people lost their lives on both sides. And now somebody's trying to bring peace. So I think that's a little bit of good news today. I want to end with that. I think finally that's some good news. Now, we may see things go ballistic this weekend over in the Middle East. Don't know. But it sure would be nice that if we could get things settled in Eastern Europe, bring peace, and end this. There's no more U.S. money going over there, so Zelensky and Ukraine are going to have to get real. But again, it's a horrible strategy to not sit down and talk. And why so many people support that strategy to just sanction, not talk, just F you to Russia, no matter what you think. So many people have lost their lives because of that. So many people lost their lives on both sides. And this really affected the world. So now, hopefully, people can sit down, come to a resolution, and end this death. It's time to end. So let's keep everybody in our prayers, Ukraine, Russia, America, that we get some peace. I think that would be some really, really great news for 2025. Whether you love Russia, you hate Russia, whatever the case may be, I just want to see peace. I just want to see peace. I'm going to leave it there today. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for your time today. So much happening. Love the comments. So many people read the comments. Keep the comments going, good or bad. Leave a comment down below. We'd love to know what you're thinking. As always, look forward to speaking with all of you very, very soon. Be careful out there. Be safe. God bless.